She has powers. She's doing shit. Shit is flying everywhere. They're doing potions. Woo, supernatural. Greetings, friend. Welcome to Fox on Flix with Friends. I'm Fox Indigo, and you are either watching me on YouTube or listening to me on Spotify. In light of the past months and everything that's going on here in the United States, I'm sure many of you have heard of the blockbuster hit Sinners that has been playing #1 in the world for how many weeks or so? Well, I'm not going to review that movie because everybody has been reviewing it. Everybody pretty much has been talking about it. And if you haven't, I suggest that you either go watch it. And I believe now you can rent it online. Moving on. If you haven't listened to my podcast before, or if you haven't watched any of my videos, then let me just elaborate on who I am and what I do. I am just a film lover and a self-proclaimed critic of Black entertainment, whether it is on television, movies, documentaries. I want to watch it no matter where it is in the world, whether it's here in the United States, if it's a Nollywood movie, if it's from Brazil, Colombia, wherever there are Black faces and Black stories, I want to hear about them. I want to watch them. I want to review them, and then I want to share them with you. If you have any suggestions, if you have any movies that you love, please, I ask you to go ahead and comment below. Give me your recommendations. If you don't follow me, please, follows are for free. Subscribing is for free. All you're doing is helping me to spread my message, helping the algorithm, letting everybody know that you do enjoy the content, or at least something that I said. Thank you. If you don't follow me here on YouTube, please go and find me on Spotify under the same name, Fox on Flix with Friends. So let's just get into it. You're into the supernatural. You want to see something similar to Sinners. Well, I don't have anything that's vampire-esque, but I do have something witchy. That would be the show Domino Day. Domino Day you can find on the streaming service of AMC Plus. It is a BBC 3 show, and it's been out for over a year. The reason why I started watching it was because it was sold as a kind of like a Buffy show. And if you are an American, and if you grew up in the 90s, you knew that Buffy the Vampire Slayer was the show. It's like the live action of Scooby-Doo. So I said, hey, why not? It is about a modern witch, a Black witch, who is, I believe, in London. Domino suffers from uncontrollable hunger, if I'm going to say that correctly. She's kind of like a succubus. She wants to do good. She wants to do well. But there's a little bit of a few issues that she's having. She has a toxic relationship. And there are a bunch of females that are kind of obsessed with her. That's how I'll put it. Here are 3 things I want to share with you about the show without spoiling it for you. Domino Day was promoted as a kind of like a Buffy remake, and I am a fan of Buffy. I know that there are many people my age who grew up watching that show. I actually, maybe like 2 years ago, rewatched the entire series from season 1 to the last episode. When I heard that there was a show that was being promoted like the modern day Buffy, I decided I'm going to watch it. Domino Day stars Sienna Kelly, and it was written by Lauren Sikira, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Just to give you a little bit of the plot, because I really do want you to watch it. It's a pretty good show, a little bit slow paced, but the acting is there. I really do love British shows for their acting, and I also love their shows because I think that their stories are not too cliche. I find that the twists and turns and the relationships are a little bit more, I don't know, complex, more complex than American shows, though I think that American shows are more polished. With that being said, Domino Day is about a modern day Black witch, and I believe, I want to say in London, who's having kind of a little bit of issues with controlling her power. And there's a coven that kind of wants to help her, kind of does, kind of doesn't. I don't know. You'll have to watch to find out. But here are 3 things that I really want to share with you about what you can find about Domino Day. So you have American versus kind of British television. I found that in American television, we are very, very polished here. We have polished makeup, polished hair, polished sets, polished scripts. With Domino Day, there are many imperfections as far as visuals go. So, for instance, most of the actors in this show are people of color, Black people. And I found that the makeup that they do on these actors is not flattering at all. There is a dark skinned character, and I find that her makeup is not done very, very well. I don't know who the makeup artist is on the set, but I don't think that they do very well at enhancing her dark complexion and her features. I find it to be very blotty. And to be honest, it actually kind of took me out. I just kept focusing on the fact that she looked bad. I personally thought that she looked bad. And I found that through all the makeup choices of the characters, and not just the dark skinned character, there's another character that I felt they made her look very orange. And I'm like, who's on this set? Like, Black people didn't just show up yesterday there. That was definitely one thing that I did notice about the show. And so if you are someone who is very into aesthetics and if you're into makeup, that's one thing that's going to stand out visually. The constant, the makeup was bad. Now, what I did like a little, I don't know, it was a little toss and turn for the outfit choices. I don't know if this is something like a British thing, a London thing. I'm not really sure, but the fashion is very questionable to me. I don't know if we're putting them in this clothing so they can stand out as individual characters or if this is a trend of the city. The costume choices were very interesting. Not to say that I didn't like some of the pieces that the women and some of the guys that were in. I did like some of them, but just the way that they were put together, the way that they were meshed together, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if this is like London fashion, but another thing. Please comment below. I really, really need to know this. If you are from London, the whereabouts, and if you're Black particularly, I have a question. Part of Domino Day's story is that there's kind of like a little bit of a love triangle going on. Now, here in America, interracial dating or seeing interracial relationships has been something that they've slowly been kind of promoting in social media, in media, in shows. And when I say interracial dating, I really mean mostly interracial dating between whites and Blacks. Part of this story is Domino Day being in a relationship with a young man who was white, and then later on, kind of forging a relationship with a young man who is Black. I'm more of a metaphysic type of person. I read into things. I do believe that stories, music, movies, they all have messages. These songs, movie shows, they come from individuals. So that means that sometimes the individual, whoever has created it, there might be a little bit more of a message. With all of that being said, she kind of basically has two lovers. We have Silas, the white guy, and then we have Leon, who is this very handsome Black guy. What I noticed about this show that there were these underlining microaggressions. I was wondering, do Black women and Black men, do they find themselves in some of the compromising positions that Domino found herself? How do I say this? I noticed that in Domino Day that there were a lot of these underlining microaggressions, and I wanted to know, is that something that is very prevalent in the social environment and in your everyday waking life there? There were many like little subtle comments. I believe like one of the characters says to Domino, like, oh, I usually am not into Black girls, but you are, very pretty or whatever. I'll make an exception for you. There was another line in another episode where one of the characters talks about like her skin and her complexion. And, it was just very fetish. And I wanted to know if that's something that's very prevalent there to the point where it was actually put in the show, because you don't see that in our shows when it comes to interracial dating. There is no they don't show the microaggressions like that, like in real life it happens. But in the shows, unless they're really trying to make a point in that episode, you really don't see that. So I wanted to know, is that something that happens a lot? And if so, please make a comment below. And I would like to hear some of the things that you may have heard. I kind of went left field. Back to Leon and Silas. I found that there were these two different messages going on. You had Silas, the white guy, who actually was a very toxic relationship. I saw Silas and Leon as toxic, a toxic relationship. And then there was the healthy relationship. I felt like, again, there was this message, follow along. Like I said, Silas was the toxic relationship and Leon was the healthy relationship. I also felt that there was this question of, does race play a part in the success of a relationship? I don't know. I felt like the writer was trying to say something. So if you have watched this show, tell me what you think the writer was trying to say. I personally feel that the writer was trying to say that interracial relationships with white men can be very, very toxic. And if you're looking to heal, if you're looking to find yourself, you need to find yourself a brother. That's personally my opinion. Third thing that I actually wanted to address about the show was the fact that it was being compared to Buffy. Now, after I watched, I believe it's 6 episodes, I'm going to say it's nothing like Buffy. I'm sorry. It's nothing like Buffy at all. Is it supernatural? I guess. Yes. Okay, yes. It's supernatural. She has powers. She's doing shit. Shit is flying everywhere. They're doing potions. Woo, supernatural. But is it a Buffy? No, it's not a Buffy. I mean, Buffy was dark. It was funny, and the characters themselves stood on their own. You knew exactly who was who. You knew which character was who. You always rooted for Buffy. There were multiple bad guys. And that's just what made the show so fascinating. And they always like upped the ante for Buffy. There was always something that was going to, take over Sunnydale. And there was always this underlining current of just chaos that was happening. It was a funny show. It just wasn't dark. They were able to balance it. The only thing I could say about Buffy was, right, there weren't any diverse characters. Like, it was completely opposite. You had you had all white cast until you had, the second Vampire Slayer, and she was only there for a while. But they did so well at having a cohesive family in Buffy. It was funny and you could relate. And that was another thing about Buffy. If you had a friend group, a peer group, you almost saw some of your friends in that peer group. So it made you relate. Even though it was an all white cast, the characters were so diverse. The storyline, the way the storyline was woven together. Shout out to Josh Whedon. Shout out. And I didn't see the connection to Buffy. I was like, oh, because she has powers and she's a girl. Don't do it. Don't compare it to Buffy. This is why. Okay, so here are all the reasons why I think that you should never compare Domino Day to Buffy. One, Domino was constantly being portrayed as weak. If you watch this show later on, come and tell me if you feel the same way. I feel that Domino was being portrayed as weak. She was constantly losing control of her power. She was constantly making mistakes and she was constantly having to be saved. That's not necessarily the same for Buffy. Buffy was the heroine of the show. She might have emotionally there might have been some emotional weakness, but that's why she had her friends. Her friends were there for the support when she fell off of her pedestal. But Buffy in herself was a strong female character. I don't get that from Domino. Not yet. I do see her as flawed. I see her as someone who has power, but as far as character wise, like if I'm going to say which heroine or who would I prefer to be, I'm going to choose Buffy first just for the characteristics. If you talk about looks, I'm going for Domino. Number two, also, Domino is an energy rapist. Okay, she's a rapist. She's a rapist. And Buffy wasn't a rapist. Buffy wasn't trying to take from anybody unless, you're coming to Sunnydale to try to, fuck up the scene. But other than that, Buffy was not going around taking because she's weak. And that was my problem with the Domino Day character. It was like, you're trying to portray her as somebody who is strong, but she's doing weak sauce stuff. I also found Domino to be flighty and very fickle and a crybaby. Maybe Buffy was maybe a little bit of a crybaby, not a crybaby, but Buffy was more like a what is the word? Buffy was self-deprecating. That's what she was. Buffy was self-deprecating, but she understood that her place. She understood what her role was and what was expected of her. So she was able to toughen up, suck it up. And again, she had that support system to remind her just who she was. When she faltered in herself, she had the gang, she had the Scooby Gang there to let her know, oh, no, 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 no. Don't get down on yourself. Don't get down on yourself. You're that bitch. And I feel that that's lacking. So hopefully we'll see that in the second season of Domino Day. Now, even though I just sat here and I told you all the things that I did not like about Domino Day, I honestly can say that this is a very, very good show. And I think it's extremely underrated. I think more people need to start watching it because I really want to see a season 2, a season 3, a season 4. I would like it to pick up the way that Buffy was, the way that everybody, in my generation really watched Buffy in that show. Please do not get me wrong with all the things that I'm telling you about the show. It's a good show. It is really good show. And I really like the fact that the cast is predominantly Black. Like I started out saying, I love British shows because I think that I think the writing is more authentic. As far as like the intricacies of relationships and what could possibly happen. I feel like American shows are a little bit cliche. You kind of see the direction that they're going in. I think that's why there are a few American shows like Game of Thrones, House of Dragon. I'm trying to think of some other shows where you really don't expect certain twists and turns, and that's what makes them so great. Like I said, predominantly, I think a lot of American shows are very cliche. You kind of know what's going to happen. Where I think like British shows they are quirky in a very subtle way. One thing I can say that this writer did, and shout out to Lauren, is that I liked that she incorporated the ancestral history of witches, right? Because when most people think of witches, they're thinking about some chick on a broom, with this crooked nose and his hat, or they're thinking about this like ethereal white woman who's like wearing this see-through gown with that glitters and she's like floating through the woods and shit. We forget that witchcraft was, in Africa, in the Caribbean, in the Americas. I appreciated the ancestral inclusion, and I really hope in the coming seasons that we have that more incorporated into the storyline. I think a lot of us who are Black forget how deep that our roots really go, regardless whether you're from the Americas, the Caribbean, South America. I want to say probably even some African countries where it's been completely like gentrified. I think that a lot of us just forget that our roots are deeper and that we are connected to a higher spiritual, unseen realm, and we don't practice that. And I think that many of us are scared of that, especially those who have been indoctrinated into Christianity. So I think that this is something I believe that it should be incorporated more in our storytelling to take us away from us being scared of ourselves. Does that make sense? So what I look forward to for the next season, hopefully, there will be a season 2 to Domino Day. So here are the things that I really want to see improve. Character development. There are supporting characters for Domino Day, and I want to see these characters develop more. I want to know about their backgrounds, how they joined this coven. I think I need at least 2 more episodes with less things compact into them. Each episode is about an hour long, and there was a lot. There was a lot. I would get to an end of an episode and I'd realize, oh my God, that was just an hour. And that was a lot. That's a lot to process. So let's draw the story out a little bit more with a little bit more character development. I need to see a little bit more humor if we're going to compare Domino Day to Buffy. If not, let's just not compare the two at all. Let Domino Day stand out as its own story, just like Sinners. The man in black, he agrees. Well, friends and family, we have gotten to the end of this. I like it to make it short and sweet as possible. So if you're not following me, please go ahead, subscribe to my channel, or you can follow me on Spotify under Fox on Flix with Friends. Remember that likes are always for free. It helps the algorithm, and it also gives me a little bit more confidence to do this. I have not done this in a while. There's been so much that has happened since the pandemic. So I'm just getting back into the swing of things. So please comment below. Tell me if you've watched Domino Day. Let me know if you agree with anything that I've said. Let me know if I've missed anything. Let me know if you have any recommendations. I like to watch movies and shows that deal with Black stories. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. We are all family. And the whole point of this platform is to show the rest of the world that we are diverse. We're not monoliths. And we tell great fucking stories. And that's just what it is. Also, just to remind ourselves and to remind each other just how diverse we are, just how loving we are, just how creative we are, and just how much that we support one another. So please support me on this platform. Likes are for free. Even subscribing to my channel is for free. It doesn't hurt anybody and it doesn't hurt you. I know maybe the notifications might be annoying, but just turn off the notifications and just come and visit my channel every once in a while and see what I have to offer. Thank you so much. Stay tuned for my next review. I do my best to upload either a video or a podcast once a week. My next upload is about the 3 demonic movies, if you're a Christian, that you should not watch. And even though this is, like I said, a channel for Blacks, we all already know about this whole like ginger thing. I have 3 Irish movies that you should watch. All right, family. It's love, kisses, and hugs. Thank you so much for being with me. That's a wrap.